Nyack is a comfortable suburb of New York on the shores of the Hudson River. One property has more to offer than most. The house's owner for 23 years, Mrs. Helen Ackley, now lives in Florida. She and her husband brought up their 3 children in the house with ghosts for company.
My house was haunted by 3 different ghosts that we could say for sure. One was an older gentleman, one was a young girl, and one was a young Navy lieutenant. Oh, I love the ghosts, all of them. They were there, I could feel them, but however, they did not intrude upon me, but they were there if I needed them. And there were times I called on them, and it seemed as though they understood and tried to help.
Helen's friendly feelings towards the ghosts are confirmed by her neighbours across the road. The Ursula family were close friends of the Ackleys. James Ursula grew up alongside Helen's son, William. He remembers spooky incidents.
William had a habit of every night going down into the basement and locking up and making sure everything was secure. And this time he saw something white outside glowing, and he had no idea what it was. And his eyes shot up, and he saw this Revolutionary War ghost. And he was panic-stricken. And he turned around and ran right into one of the walls in the basement. And he came upstairs, and his mother saw him, and Helen, and she just started laughing because she knew he had seen the ghost for the first time.
The Ackleys really felt that the ghosts were part of their family, I'm sure, because they never had any fear. There was never anything negative. In fact, it was as though they were sort of guardian angels or something in the family.
The time came when widowed Mrs. Ackley had to move from the 18-roomed house. She wanted to join her son, who had set up a business in Florida. With regret, she put the house up for sale. The estate agent was Richard Ellis. He was worried about mentioning the house's extra features.
We kind of took a deep breath and we approached the buyer on it, and he laughed about it. He just joked about it. And then a couple of weeks later, he called us and was very serious about the whole thing. And at that point, we set up a meeting for him to meet with Mrs. Ackley, and she spoke with great enthusiasm about the ghosts. And at that point, I think he became very concerned. And shortly after that meeting, he decided he did not want to buy the house.
The buyers had put down a substantial deposit, but they now wanted to cancel the deal. A dispute arose over who would keep the money. The case ended up in court. The judge threw out the buyer's claim, saying it was too late for them to change their minds. The buyers took the case to the Appeal Division of the Supreme Court of New York. The presiding judge was Israel Rubin. The basis of the appeal was that Mrs. Ackley was not fulfilling her obligation to leave the house unoccupied. It was still inhabited by the ghosts.
We had to balance off whether a ghost should have been disclosed as against a theory or a principle of law that is almost universal in the United States. That is caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, that the buyer has to be beware of what they're buying and has to do an adequate search. And once they do that search, they're actually stuck with what they are purchasing.
The Ursulas worry that the ghosts had not been consulted. James thinks they weren't best pleased.
The first Christmas that the Ackleys weren't here, we had a lot of bells hanging around the house. And for some strange reason, they just started ringing. And we thought they were because of the wind in the house. We'd move them, and they'd still ring. And I just thought it was so creepy that that would happen. I really think the ghosts were trying to express themselves and say, we've had something happen here, and we really don't like it. Our friends have gone, and we're really upset about it.